Welcome to another episode of the Ask the Cabinet with Peterborough City Council. Obviously, I'm here with Dennis Jones, the leader and the Cabinet Member for Housing and Communities, Alison Jones. Both councillors, husband and wife.
Declaration of interest, we're married.
I thought just should make that clear. Did you have a good Christmas, by the way?
We did, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
It was nice to have a break and regroup,
Yeah,
spend
we
time with
did.
family and friends.
I think, like most people, we succumbed to the lurgy just before, so it took us a while to get over it. So sympathy to anybody who was in the same position as us.
Also, that happened to me as well, and family. But let's move on. We are into 2025 now. The news came out that the Lido will not be mothballed, at least for the foreseeable future anyway. Obviously there've been a lot of speculation about that, about what it meant and everything. But that news came out yesterday. So that is good news, isn't it, Dennis? I mean, tell us about what's happened, the process, why it was first, for those who don't know, why it was first mooted that might happen, and why it is that that's been put back seemingly now.
Okay. All right. The thing is that all parties are involved in what we call the Financial Sustainability Working Group. And it is completely cross-party, and officers from each of their directorates have to bring proposals for saving money. There's two ways that we balance the books, John. One is either by saving money or by generating income. And one of the things we want to do, we look at with the museum and the Lido, is at some point to generate income. But in the first instance, we had to save money, and nothing is off the table. And it was alleged that it probably still is, that we could save £400,000, so not an insignificant sum, by mothballing the Lido. The plan was never to close it fully. We have a wonderful facility, and of course, currently it's the only swimming facility in the centre of the city. So it did have cross-party support to keep it open. But what we had to do was put everything on the table. It's only fair that all the directorates had brought everything forward and we considered it. But what we're looking to do, and we're going to make changes, we are going to get covers for the pool so that we can keep the heat in. I didn't realise that we had no covers on the pool and never have had. It's a very debatable point with an awful lot of councils, whether you cover them or not. We'll keep some heat in and we'll reduce costs as a consequence. The other thing we need to do is we need to encourage people to use it, because some statistics have come out that the majority of people who do use it on a regular basis come from outside the city. So it's not a case of use it or lose it. We want to encourage people to use it. And their income, their footfall will encourage people to improve our food and beverage offer. We're already looking now at using the location for, if any of you have seen the wonderful series Slow Horses, season 6, some of it will be filmed in Peterborough. And, we just think that's an income generating activity, but that's where we're coming from at the moment. Is we will save it, but we're going to work with the friends and other interested parties essentially to look at ways that we can keep it going for future generations, because the pool is 90 years old next year.
And obviously there was a lot of dismay, sadness that it was potentially closing, and a lot of people said, obviously, they had their say, shall we say.
Absolutely, and I suppose, like, for my sake, of being a true Peterboroughian, I learnt to swim there. I must admit, I'm not 90, wasn't there at the start.
No, you weren't putting the bricks down, right? Yeah.
But it's it's a great facility. And echo what you've said. If we're going to look to it, and we're going to look to sort of like improve some of the food offerings in there, it's a great place for the family to go. So we just all need to use it this year and continue to keep it out there. It's great.
Has the reaction been very positive about that? I would assume it has so far.
Yeah. Very gratifying. We're not going to take all the credit, but obviously as the administration, we take a lot of brickbats, so it's nice to have the odd bouquet.
And obviously nobody's under any illusion that you are going to have some other difficult decisions to be made over the next few months as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now you mentioned it briefly there. The film office that we're setting up in Peterborough. Now, I'll just mention a little bit about that. As a comms team, as an authority, we often get approached by companies, film companies, or production companies to say, do you have a field that we can use, or do we have a road that looks like this that we might be able to use, or an area? And it's often been something that we haven't quite been able to respond to maybe in the way that we'd like to, because we just don't have the time and resources, and sometimes we don't have the the facilities to do it. So we've now put that in a sort of formal place, and Peterborough Film Office will be launching this year, which is a fantastic thing for the city, not just for the council, but the whole area as well. It's good for tourism, economy, and it's also good for the production companies themselves. I was just wondering what you think of that. I mean, it's a really positive thing. It's a great thing, isn't it, for the city?
Yeah, I mean, you may not know, but I'm a failed actor. So
I think some people would probably know.
So, might just guess.
We'll drop the failed bit if that's all right.
It's fine.
Yeah, many years ago.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind. I went to drama school with Amanda Burton. One of us made it, one of us didn't. But I'll leave it.
Yeah, no idea what she is now, but yeah.
I think there's an awful lot of good stuff that happens in the council that flies under the radar that we never see. And talking with officers, talking with people, they have some wonderful connections, and they put an awful lot of work into networking in, for events such as this. And my understanding is that a lot of the film companies now want to move away from computer graphic, images, and they want to go back to live locations. We're 45, 50 minutes out of London by train, further by bus or coach, but by the same token, we're on the way to anywhere for people, and we just want to tell people that we're open for business. And I think it's great that we're doing this.
Yeah, and it's great that we're actually being approached. There's some fantastic areas I'm sure they're going to want to use.
I mean, you mentioned like the Lido, for example. Yeah. That is one. You mentioned slow horses. That the potential of that to make it look like, I've heard that you could put like a green screen behind it, so you could make it look like from the 1950s or 30s or whatever. We've got lots of areas, the embankments, Ferry Meadows, some which are obviously owned by the council, some which aren't, but we'd like to bring as many sort of companies in as we can. The website section, because it will remain the section on the Peterborough City Council website, because we've got a lot of like SEO, if you like, baked into it. So that will remain on our website. The film office section is nearly ready to go. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
And there is one bonus, I think, is sometimes the phrase we use is a profit without honour in our own country, and if we have got film companies coming up that can go anywhere in the country, they choose to come here. We have, if you go, for instance, in the Lido, you have a fabulous view of the cathedral, completely unhindered view. And these are what they're looking for. And if they can, do those kind of images with very little input from the graphics and the green screens, which they can do, it speaks volumes about us as a city and what we have to offer to film companies, because they're very discerning and they want to come here. And that is to me is a hugely positive message.
Absolutely excellent.
We should have the social media sites for that set up in the next week or so as well. Really? So we'll be promoting that out as far and wide as we can. We've had James Bond films filmed in Peterborough and Nene Valley Railway before, and etc. So it can be done.
Yeah, the most film railway in the country.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah,
didn't know that.
Yeah, and I might not be a failed actor anymore.
I was just about to say,
I might be third.
Opportunity.
I might be third spear shaker from the left.
Okay, or a Bond villain maybe. You could be a Bond villainess as well. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We'll see for the future. Film office at peterborough.gov.uk is the email address for that. So if anybody wants to find out more about it, which we expect there will be quite a few people, I hope anyway, then get in touch with us. We'll have a chat now about the Cathedral appeal as well, which launched last week, the Cathedral in Crisis. For those who don't know, £300,000 needs to be raised for Peterborough Cathedral by the end of March 2025. Otherwise, there's talk of reducing the hours that it's open, or even having some sort of entrance fee and things like these. Have all been mentioned by the Very Reverend Christopher Dallaston, who's obviously the Dean of the Cathedral. I just took a quick look on the Cathedral website just before you came on. They've raised £41,000 so far, so that is very good, and we've still got obviously 2.5 months still to go. I'll start with you, Alison. I mean, what does the Cathedral mean to you? What does it mean to the city, I guess?
I mean, we are a city because we have a cathedral, and it's the most amazing building, isn't it? Let's be right about it. When you just walk into the precincts, it's just there, and like you've already said, you can see it from so many different angles in the city. And so the fact that obviously we need to look to say, oh, we need to keep the cathedral open, and we need some money because of all the costs. So it's something that, again, they're working hard to, and they have some great events there. It's not just the cathedral as you see it. So they're putting on to try and attract, all of us as a city for different issues. And we went to the Christmas lights thing, the
Lux Muralis,
and that was just amazing. You just walk in and you see all of that. So they have some really great things on there. I think people go, oh, well, it's at the cathedral, or it's just whatever. But no, it's definitely worth checking out what they've got. And they don't really get much income. And when I talk to them about, we actually can go in for free. We went to somewhere the other week, and you've got high cost to get into cathedrals, but ours is free, and that's what they're also trying to keep, so that we haven't got to pay to go in there. So, but we do need again to, for the moment, financially support it, because their income doesn't come from many different sources.
I guess as cabinet member for communities as well, it's real important to a lot of the communities within Peterborough as well, isn't it? A meeting place or a place for spiritual guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're very much putting on things that obviously are faith based. Across the city, they're trying to obviously to attract different areas, and also that aren't. I mean, it's like they do something like the Christmas fair, which just attracts so many people through there. Then you go and you just see how amazing that this is. If you don't go inside it, you'll never realise it's the most amazing cathedral inside.
I guess, Dennis, that some people may think, well, okay, I would love to give more money to the cathedral or the Lido or wherever it is, but there are cost of living. I have my own issues, and that's a concern, isn't it, for a lot of people?
Of course it is. And for us as a city, the only thing I would say to people is that whether we like it or not, but depending on your faith or lack of it, it is the number one attraction in Peterborough on TripAdvisor. So it's a very much not only an integral part of our ever-growing tourist strategy, but it's also one of the things where, and we must understand that cathedrals and churches were the centres for the community for centuries. So there are some people who've said we shouldn't be holding these events there, but this is, it's been a cathedral since 1542. It's been a place of worship since 1622. So it was there long before us, and hopefully it will be there long after us. We're just the custodians. And one of the things we have to do is give what we can when we can. And Lord, I'm fully aware we're all suffering the pressures of cost of living, but anything we can do to help our city to grow our spiritual and community areas has got to be a good thing, even if it's just a couple of quid. It all helps.
You mentioned at the launch event last week about when perhaps, obviously coming from Manchester, you didn't quite appreciate what the Cathedral in Peterborough meant to people, and it was only when you arrived here and saw it that you realised what an iconic.
Well, I lived then, I think I said, I lived over in Northamptonshire where they call the river the Nen, and I don't think it was with a church group, and I came across, and really, because Manchester Cathedral, it has a cathedral, yes it does, but I kind of think we took it for granted because it's in as you say, a big city, whereas here it's the centrepiece, it's the focal point. And when I stood at the west front that first time, and I thought, you know, that you look at the architecture, you look at the sculpture, you look at how that building has been formed, and people would work there all their working lives as apprentices, right through till retirement or beyond. And the honest truth is that I really was awestruck by it. So, you know, and we do need to take care of it in any way that we can. And I do realise it's a big ask of an awful lot of people.
And I think again it goes back to a bit like the Lido. You don't realise what you've got, and if you've not been around the cathedral to see just how just how it is, like you were describing the architecture, then just pop in. You know, it's not going to cost you anything, and within that you might go, oh, this is amazing. So perhaps I can, contribute to some form of donation or support some of the events that are going on there. It's just that putting your nose inside the door and going, yeah, like you read, it is pretty awesome.
One thing I will say is Alison's dad, sadly no longer with us, was a wonderful watercolorist, and he did a picture of the cathedral. Not only is it awesome in the finished product, but in its construction. He had an engineer, a design engineer's eye for the way it was put together, and I watched him, excuse me, at parts doing that, having the picture upside down, using tracing paper so that he could get the irregularity of the floor, and it was just watching it in construction. So if you think that on a small scale to how that whole thing was put together, was so fortunate to have that wonderful asset right in the middle of the city.
Talking of city centres, there was a report in the Peterborough Telegraph recently, and I'll read it out. Hopes are growing that a host of new leisure and experience-led retail attractions will help to encourage shoppers and visitors to Peterborough to spend more time in the city centre. It's understood that talks are in progress to bring bowling, go-karting to the city centre. A number of other leisure-led attractions are said to be in discussions to open in Queensgate. And plans are currently being drawn up for free car parking at Queensgate Car Park in February. I think it's Sundays, is it? Also intended to hold a Valentine's film night at St John's Church in the city centre. That all adds to the Odeon, the put and play that's also there. Yeah. So that's good news as well. Positive to get more things, hopefully, into the city centre.
And also to attract different people. You know, if you like sporty, you do that. You know, the younger, it's like a family sort of portfolio, isn't it? It's not just one thing that's going to sort of like exclude other people. It really is attracting all the different things that the whole family can come along to as well.
Now, very true. We, you and I and the police went out before Christmas to have a look around the city centre, which was quite an eye opener for me. Not least with the young lady who was stricken and helped, and thankfully, yeah, exactly, absolutely. Amazing. So, do you think we've got to overcome a perception about Peterborough? And we've spoken about this before. I mean, on social media, people are sort of quite negative about it sometimes. I've got some comments in a minute as well, which we can have a look at.
And it's interesting. One of our other cabinet members had family up over Christmas, and he sent them into the city centre to have a wander around. And they all came back and said, wow, it's amazing. Yeah. And I think this goes back sometimes to, again, what we've got in front of us, we tend to forget. And we were like, they just loved it, all the different things that were going on, that we just go, oh, really? So I think, with adding to all of these other things that we're looking at, then it really is going to make us more of a vibrant city in that area and attract different people to come in. And so it was interesting to the feedback of somebody outside coming and having one around the city centre. And like you said, we saw things from a different angle when we were out with the police that you don't always get to see. So it's that new pair of eyes, I think, as well, looking at all that we do have to offer and what we've got in the pipeline.
I'll give you an example of some of the things that were said. Those are, all good things. I mean, bowling, go-karting, are unusual things that we haven't had here. Carol on the PT's website said, it's still a city centre with no public loos. So that is something that I guess we're looking at always to try and sort of, us and Queensgate, to try and sort that out to some degree.
Try to facilitate that. I mean, we do have the public toilets at the Car Haven. There are toilets there, but you're right, it is one of those bigger issues of, where do you put it, and then working with the Queensgate to say what's going to make it accessible, because you can't not have that facility there.
Can I also mention something Peter said on there? Take away the betting shops, charity shops, vape shops, barbers, nail salons, coffee shops, phone shops, and takeaways, and see what's left. I think he's been answered really by the start of what we said there, hasn't he? We're going to have shops and go-karting and bowling, a cinema and everything else that's there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the nature of retail, the nature of living has changed hugely in the past few years. You can't really, in fact, you can buy a cup of coffee online, can't you? Yeah, you know, Just Eat and other brands available. But the fact is what
you can't
we
go
need.
Go-karting online. No. Well, I suppose you can.
Virtually,
yeah.
I mean, what we need to do is create something experiential. So sitting in a coffee shop is an experience. Go-karting is two extremes, two polar opposites. These are the things that, you know, we can't quite get sat at home. I'm not going to lie. I bought Christmas presents online over Christmas. It was so easy. But there's nothing that quite beats going into Queensgate Centre and going into up the garden bath and buying something old school. And they asked for cash, and I'm an old bloke, so I got my cash out my pocket, and I felt very comforted.
Absolutely.
You know, and it was a great experience. So, you know, there is time, there is a space, and there is a place for a mixed economy. And what we need to do, we need to encourage footfall. Little bit like the Lido, little bit like the museum. The more people that we can get, we start to outnumber the issues that we've got in the city. It's like a chicken and egg, and we just have to mix my metaphors, change it round so that there's a critical mass of people who want to be here, that stay for that extra cup of coffee or croissant or beer or whatever it is they've come in for. And it's that incremental spend and the incremental footfall. And I will say this, Peterborough, the Labour group never, ever considered this congestion charge for the city. It was never on the books. What we wanted to do was create a place, maybe with a free parking on the Sunday, where we want people to come in. We have the fastest rush hour traffic in the country at 22 miles an hour compared to London, which I think is 7. So why wouldn't we capitalise on all the good work that we did as a new town 30, 40, 50 years ago?
Yeah, we've just seen the new opening of the Odeon at the Queensgate Centre, you know, which is a great offering. And again, you know, when you've been in there, you've got all the lovely food offerings that we've got around the city centre. So you really have a whole night, you know, with the family and friends, just staying in the city. I mean, it's great having that there.
I think in terms of what Peter said there as well, I don't think Peter was particularly unusual in any of those things there. And B, there are the planning considerations with all of those, and you can't just say, well, we've got too many of that. You know, they're obviously...
If they pay their business rates, if they're there... I mean, I don't vape, I don't gamble, I'm very fortunate, and I don't eat the sweets. But the thing is, at the moment, our business rates are well down, and this is one of the reasons why I have some of the financial issues that we've got. So I'm not welcoming them necessarily to the city, but they are a necessary fact of life here, and as you say, right across the country. We're no different. We're no better or worse served than anybody else.
So, some other good news, that we've launched the first house project in the east of England. I'll just read a little bit. Young people leaving care in Peterborough will receive vital support at an innovative new facility, helping them to achieve successful independent futures. Peterborough City Council is the first authority in the east of England to launch its very own house project, located at Chauffeur's Cottage. The facility will be open for all care leavers in the city, ensuring young people leaving care get the skills and confidence to develop pathways into education, training, employment, and their own homes. Also used to host vital drop-in sessions for all care leavers to allow them to access services and support. I mean, that's as it says, innovative, fantastic new thing for the city, isn't it? And vital, I would say, as well. What would you like to say about that then, Alison? Because it's such see, as a cabinet member for homes and communities, that is a key thing, right?
Yes, and it's great to think that we can carry on continuing to support the care leavers. We haven't had that centre in like that, So by using the Chauffeur's Cottage, it's going to give them a base, it's going to give them a focus, and it's going to give them the support that they need at that time. All the different transitions that we go through in our lives, to be able to do that as a first for the city as well. It's just going to give them that support, mixing with other people as well, and it's in the city centre, so it's accessible to them as well. So we're really excited that we are going to have the opening, and it will then be able to be used, and supported by the people that are going to be in there, sort of supporting them and working with them.
I guess as well the fact that, I mean, they'll be given advice and skills in areas such as employment, job search, CV writing. So it's for young people, but it's also to progress them sort of from young into the rest of their lives.
And that's it. It's on their journey, on their career path now. It's at different ages, we take different stages. And this one is going to be no different, really. They're coming out of care, and then it's like, where do you go? What do you want to do at that age? So we can provide that help and support with some of, like you said, the practical things about how do you apply for a job? What do you do? So we can give that guidance and hopefully continue them further into employment, having their own houses, families. It's again an integral, really important part that we're doing. So this is a real little golden nugget in the middle of their next development, really, I think, for their future.
And I guess that younger people, I mean, we all suffered through COVID, but younger people, particularly, a lot of the people who would be affected by this had their schools closed or universities closed or whatever, or colleges. So this is a way of kind of helping them back into...
Well, I don't mind admitting that I will be more than happy to volunteer there. And the reason being is because, when I was their age, 18, 19 years old, I spent an awful lot of time thrashing around in the long grass with nobody to talk to, nobody to say, look, have you thought about, I'm not a particularly practical guy, but I'm a bit better at that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's just getting people, pointing them in the right direction. That's something I've always been involved in work with, volunteer work with children and young people. And there's nothing new under the sun, John. This is one of the things, is that just people, it should be somewhere that's also a safe space. The danger is that minute you walk in, somebody's going to thrust a CV in your hand or a camera or make you do something. Sometimes it's just nice. Wouldn't it be great if you could get your washing done there? Or just talk to someone.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. Ingrid Hooley and I went up to see a youth zone in Warrington a week ago. It blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. There's a climbing wall, there's boxercise, you name it, everything. Interestingly, one of the two things to come out of it, one of the least used things, were the PlayStations. They're there, but people went for social interaction.
Good.
Yeah? The other thing is how many people said sometimes it was just nice to sit and talk to someone and find someone. And if you've had a bad day at school or whatever, and I want this drop-in centre, I hope we have a youth zone. I really do. And we've got exciting plans if we can pull it off. But for now, Chauffeur's Cottage, we didn't want to evict anybody from council premises, but this is such a vital cog in our desire to make Peterborough a child-friendly city, but children grow into adults, and we have, especially our care leavers, we want to make sure they're supported.
And it goes back to that comment you said about COVID, and many of us all felt isolated, whereas this space, it would hopefully, like you said, give them that support, that they're going to be part of almost their own a big part of a community, so they won't be on their own there, and they will get that, just sitting and chatting, having that talk about things, and it will hopefully, they won't feel that isolation. But otherwise they're going, well, now what am I going to do? Well, we've got a drop-in centre that's going to give you that wraparound support that individual needs, so it's tailored to them, and they can be a part of that future moving forward.
And children grow up and grow away, but they'll always be our kids. They'll always, when they grow up, as parents, would this be good enough for my child? And all we want to do is provide something that is good enough for them as we would for our own.
Yeah.
There's no harm or shame in that.
Talking about families, moving on slightly, we've got some free parenting courses coming up. The council has. for using the Triple P framework. It's launching later on this month for parents of 2 to 12-year-old children, 2 to 12-year-old children with special needs, and also, of course, for parents of teenage children aged 11 to 16. So that's the 29th of January at the Eastern Central Family Hub, and that's going to be running until March. Yep. 3 courses, and also we've got some new funding, I understand, as well. Yes, so that's something to look at. I mean, if people want to know more about those courses, parenting at peterborough.gov.uk. I mean, the family hubs do such a great job, don't they?
I mean, again, nothing's new. This is an iteration of the Sure Start that went, and we've been crying out for this, and I'm just so proud of the city and the people involved that we are not only deepening, strengthening the offer in the ones that we have, but we'll extend the offer to other parts of the city. You know, no part of the city shouldn't have access to these wonderful facilities. And I know Cabinet Member Katie has worked very hard on this. Yeah. And, you know, all credit to her and the officers involved and the third sector organisations that are supporting us in this vital area of work. Vital.
I mean, it's we're all parents, and it's never the easiest thing, is it? Especially if you have a child who has special educational needs as well. And I can imagine that there are a lot of parents who really don't know where to turn when the child gets to 2, 3, 4 years old. So
and it's a growing area. Sadly, it's a growing area for all of us, but we need to be there for these people. And through these centres and the funding, we will be there for those people. And as I said, strengthen and deepen in the offer.
Yeah, and again, it's that, you know, it's very difficult, it can be very isolating and demanding, you know, being a parent. Whereas again, it gives them that wraparound support that they can go to, and so they don't feel that they are isolated, and make use of this fabulous offer that we've got in the city.
Yeah. Okay. All the information's on our website. We will wrap it up there, other than one last question. Now, I asked you before this what your New Year's resolutions were, and you both told me the same answer, pretty much.
Yes, I don't make New Year's resolutions because I'm a fearer, but I will break them by the 2nd of January. So no, I don't do that really. That's not one of my things.
Let's broaden it out then. What are your hopes for Peterborough for 2025? Maybe if you're not your resolution, but you know, if you could have a really good 2025 realistically for the city, what would that look like?
I suppose because we've got lots of little sort of like seeds and grass shoots that we know are out there. It's about watching them nurture and grow. We talked about some of the issues that we've got in the city centre, but we've got lots of exciting plans that are going to change that. We're going to be able to go swimming in the Lido this year. So it's about seeing all of that, you know, what we like the Lido being used this year, but all the other new plans that we've got actually coming to fruition, and seeing like the chauffeur's cottage, the family hubs. You know, we've got so much going on, and it's just like looking around and going, wow. Yeah. You know, we've got other plans in the pipeline. Too early to sort of share on some of them yet, but it's about really seeing this year as actually laying some of the solid foundations, seeing the others grow on it and develop on them. So I think it's going to be a great year for the city.
Okay. Dennis, similar answer?
I think for me, what I'd like to see is for people to have a greater understanding of what we do as a council, the challenges we face, and if nothing else, just to have more pride and more input into shaping the city. We had the Shaping City events. We were serious. We want people to help us shape the city. We've got an awful lot to offer. We've got our problems. Of course we have. Nobody's denying that. But I'd just like people, perhaps to understand some of the challenges we're facing, and just to have, you know, if there's something I'd like to see by the end of the year, is saying, do you know what? A, they're trying, and B, I will do my bit, whether it's the Cathedral, the Lido, coming in for a coffee, talking the place up instead of down. If that happens by the end of the year, I'll be a very happy man indeed.
Excellent. I mean, we haven't mentioned there's Great Eastern Run, there's Festival on the Green, which is new as well. There's Peterborough Celebrates. There's many things that still are to come in 2025. Right, well, thank you very much. We'll be back again in another month or so. Obviously, we'll inform everybody online when that is. But as I say, you can
And thank everybody for the questions as well. I think it's good to hear from people.
Ask the cabinet at peterborough.gov.uk is the email address if you want to get in touch. So thanks very much.